I think the best thing about really nailing your team is like having that culture that's entrenched so that if somebody does leave for whatever reason,
Yes.
the new hire is just like, no, this is how we do things. And and everybody just goes, yeah, this is the normal in our practice, and you're expected to meet everyone else's level. But I think, yeah, hiring
What
well
you
and
just said there about the culture is like something that while you're listening to this, just let that sit with you for a minute of like, what is our culture?
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way.
All right, welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. I am back with Dr. Andrew from Down Under. Dr. Andrew, welcome. You had a beautiful day, it looks like, enjoying a little hike midday. Is that right?
yeah, my dog is always like chomping at the bit to get out when the sun's shining. He knows if it's raining, it's not going to happen, but he just follows me. And my 3-year-old was like desperate to go out, but was too tired to walk. So she spent the entire dog walk on my shoulders. And then I got adjusted. And then I had to get adjusted after that.
Yeah.
But beautiful sunny day for Perth, 20 degrees. What did we say that was? 66 Celsius or something like that?
Yeah, you were complaining about winter temps, and I couldn't hear you because it's not winter, but
I'm still in a hoodie though. It's
yeah,
cold for.
yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's true about those dogs. I actually, to come do this podcast, my dog was staring at me like, let's go outside. And her tail was really wagging. I was like, I'm sorry, later. And I had to leave. So,
Mine usually comes in with me, but I put the heater on and he has elected to sleep in front of it.
that sounds like a good
I'm all by myself tonight.
sounds good. All right. Well, we're tackling a topic this week that I think is one of great blessing when you get it right, and also can be a source of major frustration for, I think, docs at every stage of the game, which is hiring well when you're hiring your CA team. And I know both of us probably have some great experiences where we've done it well and some not so great experiences. So I'm excited to just kind of banter back and forth on hiring a CA team and what we've learned.
Yeah, it's team is one of the 6 sides of the Rubik's Cube for a reason. And there's definitely an art to it. And I think that the longer you're in practice, probably the more you think, wow, this is a very tricky art.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah,
And
so
really, really meaningful when you get it all pulled together and you've got a solid team rolling. And then you just know like change is always on the horizon. Because if you're growing and you're doing chiropractic as a team sport, meaning lots of different roles on a team as you expand, there's always either somebody that's ascending into a different role, or somebody that's moving on, or somebody that's going to chiropractic school, or God forbid, every once in a while, somebody you got to let go. And so the team has an evolution to it.
yeah. But you know what? I think the best thing about really nailing your team is like having that culture that's entrenched so that if somebody does leave for whatever reason,
Yes.
the new hire is just like, no, this is how we do things. And and everybody just goes, yeah, this is the normal in our practice, and you're expected to meet everyone else's level. But I think, yeah, hiring
What
well
you
and
just said there about the culture is like something that while you're listening to this, just let that sit with you for a minute of like, what is our culture? Have I been clear about the consistency of how I show up as the CEO? Because you are the chief energy officer, so you're the chief demonstrator of the culture. Is this a culture that is actually what the whole team buys into, and do we have a good culture on our team? I guess let's start there for a second. Like, how have you ensured that your culture stays stable, rooted, foundational, and that it naturally magnetizes in the right people?
I think this is actually something we're doing really well at the moment. And I love my team. We had staff meeting today and I had a little grumble at them at the start. and they all took it on the chin. And we just moved on. I was like, you guys aren't, and halfway through the meeting, I was like, look, guys, you can see we have the right systems and procedures. We just actually have to stick to the systems and procedures. And that they were just like, yep, you're right. And then later on in the staff meeting, they pulled me up on something that we were just introducing, and I had dropped the ball on it. And I was like, oh, yep, you know what? I stuffed up too, right? So like, I think if there's two things that I would say in terms of setting the culture is be really clear on what your core values are as
Yes.
a team. Our highest one is integrity. Our second highest one is health. We're in the health game. So if we've got integrity and we're not healthy, we're not nailing it. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, being really clear on those core values, but then also like if you're in leadership in your team and, as the CEO or, if it's just you and a CA, you screw up, you have to own it. You have to go, yeah, you know what? I missed that one. And that just builds, I guess that's part of integrity as well, is like, if you make a mistake, you go, yep. And that becomes the culture because you set the expectations around people. I own a mistake. They own a mistake. We all go, let's do better next time.
Yes. Yeah. Demonstrating that you are also part of this culture and held to the same standards, right? That's huge. And I think if you haven't been intentional with your team to sit down and maybe write down like your mission and vision and your core values and really think of like, yeah, like if we looked at what really matters to this business and why we exist and how, when you run through a list of core value words, which ones stand out at you, like that would be a really important exercise to get right first before we go into our next hire, because that is really, I'm going to say, the lens through which we measure if this person has the potential to be a great fit. Do they lean into the like description of the culture and the values that we hold dear and why those are important? Or do they kind of like shy away and right away we know they're not a right fit then, right?
Yeah. It's like, I remember doing an interview. This was when we first opened our clinic. We kind of thrown together this satellite clinic just because the opportunity was there. And we were both working as associates elsewhere. And this person came for an interview and they were young and they were really lovely. And we're like, tell us a bit about yourself. And she's like, oh, I don't really like interacting with people. And I was like,
Okay.
okay. I think we stretched the interview out for another 5 or 10 minutes before we wrapped it up.
Yeah.
But I guess part of it was that we had sort of values around exactly how we wanted to interact with people. We had a very clear vision of the kind of person that we needed on the front desk.
Yes.
And as the first thing she said was like just opposite to that, and it was just
Yeah.
okay, line through it, and you'll hear Dr. Steve talk about those core values. You hire and you fire by them. And same with your vision is you got to hire and fire by your vision.
Totally. Yeah, similar to you, I think these are great practical stories. Is I was interviewing a gal that was going to come in for a front office CA position. She had run an office that was a medical model office that had exploded in our area. So they were
Wait, literally exploded or grown really
no
rapid?
grown. Sorry, really grown. But there's some of that too, where they had gone from like one location, the town over, to like many locations. And it was a private practice that was for people who didn't want to be in the hospital systems anymore. They could come into a smaller private pay, but still MD run practice. Well, anyways, they had gone through so much growth. When she was interviewing for this position, she said you could tell she almost had like some trauma from the growth that and she was like, I want to be in a smaller office again. I like, there was so much growth that happened that we like kind of lost our sense. And I was like, okay, it's very interesting. She would come with a very interesting skill set, likely because she went through this period of growth where but you could tell she had fear over it and didn't want it again. Right. And I was like, well, I don't want to bring someone in that's automatically already a little shy of change and expansion. So kind of like to your point, when people tell you, believe them and then listen, because that for us was not a right hire then, because we want some pretty major growth. And so I was like, I'm not going to put her through this again. I'll believe her that she doesn't want to go through that type of expansion. So yeah.
Yeah. And we had a similar experience. One of our other core values is hustle, right? Like, and I think, you talk to most TRP docs, that's right up there.
Yeah.
And so that means that you're not really looking for someone that wants to just stay in like third gear and just kind
Right.
of coast. I want my team to run in fifth gear all the time. Like that's the gear I'm running in when I'm in practice. And so my expectations from my team are that they match my gear so that we can carry on. But we had to hire, they were on probation, and it wasn't quite fitting. And I sat down with them and I said, the feedback is that you are overwhelmed in the circumstances where we're in. Now we have goals, a vision, and we have systems that we're implementing to continue to grow and expand the practice. When I talk about you seeing more, having to, work with more patients on a shift, is that overwhelming to you to think about, or are you excited by that? And sometimes people say the right things in like an interview or like a quarterly review or whatever. But I guess, I knew what the answer was. And so I didn't let her off super easy. And about 3 days later, she went, you know what? This isn't right for me.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. Like I don't want more patients coming through the doors because I'm already overwhelmed. And I'm like, cool. That's a great outcome. That's a great outcome for everyone. She's not in a job that isn't right for her, and I don't have an employee that's not pulling the oar at the pace that I want in my rowboat.
Adrian, let's double click on that for a minute, because I think what you just demonstrated there, that ability to let the vision and the mission and the values lead and not make it personal, right? Like it's like,
Mm-hmm.
let me just have this conversation with you about truly, this is where we're going. Is this right for you? No harm, no foul if it's not, but we need to have a clear conversation here. Like, did you naturally know how to do that? Or did you have a little bit of a learning curve with like being able to speak directly into that?
I think coming into like leadership is like a massive learning curve. I think probably the thing that taught me the most was we actually had a great practice manager, and she was great until she wasn't. And it, they always say that like the same team that gets you to 100 is not the same team that gets you to 300. It's not the same team that gets you to 500 and 1,000 and, all of those increments. And it's true, but the reality is either it can be the same team, but they're different iterations of the team. They're different versions. And this particular person was great. And then we hit a point, it was around that 300 a week mark. And she had some other personal life stuff going on. And so her energy in the practice was completely different. And she was one of our most senior, she was our most senior, admin staff. She was the practice manager. And it got to a point where it was untenable. And she actually did me the favor and she resigned. And that was like, because, side note, in Australia, it's very hard to fire people. Like there's a lot of like work regulations around it. This is why for the Australian docs tuning in, you got to get the hire right, because once they pass probation, the fair work laws that we have in Australia make it incredibly difficult to let somebody go who is doing the job, but not doing it well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's managed it. You have to manage them out, and that takes a very long time. So, and they can do incredible damage if they're half in, right? She did me a great favor and she resigned, but I learned a lot from that experience, particularly in how the rest of the staff were behaving around her energy. And I'll own it. I was weak leadership. My head was in other stuff. I was trying to grow the practice. I wasn't looking after my team appropriately, and I wasn't advocating for the other team members. And then once she left, it was like, have you seen, I love Lord of the Rings. When, anyone who's seen Lord of the Rings and you've got like the two towers and Theoden is under a spell and he kind of all of a sudden comes out of it and he's like, and he can see clearly. And once she left, I was like, oh my God, okay. And it was like a spell had been lifted. When this goes live, you'll have to put a clip of that, like that happening, because that's exactly what it was like. I was like, oh, and that I, you learn from experience or observation, and that was definitely an experience for me that brought my leadership along and taught me that the mission's the mission, the values are the values, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in the team, you're either on board or you're not, and the priority has to be the mission and the vision. And so now when my team is not on brand with the mission and the vision, they get a pretty firm tap on the shoulder. And yeah, we learnt a lot that moment. So
Yeah. Yes. And thank you for sharing that, because that's painful, right? It's painful. It's painful before that happens. Like, and then
mm,
feel like, oh man, like it feels so different in here now with the exit of that person. And I think a lot of us that have been through iterations of our team have a similar experience like that, where we have to look in the mirror and realize, like, where did I, as leadership, where could I have done this differently? And I know I have several painful stories, and one that's very similar to that, where just knowing that I really relinquished my leadership duties and having clear conversations about the mission and the vision and the values and where we were out of integrity. And it was painful to exit then, and probably painful financially too, if I really think about like lost revenue during that period because of not being productive and letting my inability to lead be okay, because I didn't want to have a conversation, or I thought, oh, it'll come back, or this person will get back in line. And then it didn't. So I think all we can both advocate for is this work that sometimes feels like, I'm head down, I'm adjusting, I'm out marketing, whatever I'm doing.
mhm.
Sometimes sitting down and asking yourself, are we on purpose? Am I leading with the clear vision of where we want to be in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years? Are we doing, the culture thing well? Those conversations, and coming back to that core mission and that core, like if you're on Google Maps and you don't put your like destination in, who knows where we're gonna go, right? So like,
You got no plan. No,
right,
no.
right. We need the plan brought into more of our like regular conversations, because it's so much easier, as Andrew said, to give a little tap. And the tap may be a conversation, the tap may be something you're training on, the tap may be just calling out some of the stats that are out of, that help people go, oh yeah, okay, let's get back re-engaged here. And sometimes it's just like they are going through things in their life, just like we go through things in our life, where having a conversation saying, hey, I noticed your energy's been down, or I noticed that like, this, and this, like, is there something going on that I should know, just because this is not typical for you? That conversation earlier is so much easier to have than if you've avoided having the conversation for 6 months and now you try and have it, right?
100%. And
Yeah.
especially if they're dragging it in. Conversely, one of our most recent hires, she's got a lot of personal life stuff going on, but when she steps through the practice, I have
Yeah.
to give her incredible praise.
Yeah.
She feeds off the energy of the practice, and she like feeds back into the energy of the practice, and it's like her safe space. And
Yeah.
if you've got team members struggling in personal life, none of us are immune to that. But I guess the requirement is, for me, when I walk into my practice and I am in charge of helping people improve their health, then all of my stuff has to be put aside. And you have to expect that from your front desk staff as well, because people are not there just for the crunch. They're there for the energy, for that energy exchange. Which one did we talk about that on? Well, I think that was last episode, wasn't it? They're there for that
It comes up
energy
in, I
exchange.
think, every episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not leaving your stuff at the door and your team's not leaving your stuff at the door, then it's the energy's down and people just don't want to be there. And energetically, you just repel people. Whereas
For sure.
people are attracted to excitement, right? So if your team is excited and on purpose, then people just come. I don't know where they come from. They just walk in the door and they just go, it's like Field of Dreams. They just, you've built it, they come.
Well,
So,
and to your point, so when you think about like if somebody gets off the team and all of a sudden the practice grows or it feels better, or the energy's back up, like pay attention to that, right? And conversely, if things aren't growing, or the energy's off, like that generally means we need to do something about it. I think Dr. Franson is who said this, maybe it was Pete too, that, when you have a C player quit, you're like, oh, thank God, right?
Yeah.
And when a
You're
B
like
player,
almost praying for it. You're like,
yeah,
can you quit?
exactly, right? You've been probably avoiding having conversations, first of all, if that's happening. And then the B player, if they quit, you're like, oh, shoot, but I think it'll be all right. And
Yeah,
then
we can find another one of them. That's fine.
right. Yes. And an A player, when they leave, it's like, oh no, like, what are we going to do?
I just look after my A players as hard as I can, because
Yes.
they're not going anywhere. I tell them, you're not going anywhere. Like, and the more love and appreciation they feel, the more they want to stick around. Like, we're in a generation now where people are interested in not just the financial numeration, but the lifestyle balance, the support, the happiness that they feel in a workplace environment. And so if you can provide that for A players and you can really connect with them and, hear when they need something, then you hold on to them.
Mhm.
Which, yeah, that's the dream, holding on to A players.
Yes, that is the dream. Yes,
But
definitely.
for the build docs out there, we should probably actually talk about how do we find them?
Yeah.
Because that's the trickiest.
Well, and Andrew, you and I were chatting offline that part of finding them is being really crystal clear on the role you have available. And you have to see it in your mind's eye first, because how are you going to recognize it when you have a match? So characteristics, what characteristics they have, what role, exists on the team that they're fulfilling, what is this person doing? And even when you were talking about the gal that's able to check her stuff at the door, even though she's got a lot going on. A lot of being able to do that is because there's systems in place, right? Where you hit the door, you come in, you put your stuff down, you realize we got to jump into the huddle. I got to prep for this. I got to do this. And the system naturally almost has a resonance to it that everybody just comes in and does their part and collaborates, right? Back to the whole culture thing, right? So I think doing that work is part of then how when you do an interview, you actually know if you have a match and you're going to find them. Because anyone can put an Indeed ad out there, right? Or whatever ad, but it's the ability to actually know, like, is this person actually a good fit? And I know that because I've done the homework to know what I'm really looking for. And then kind of like a new patient consultation, it's not so different. You want to let them do a lot of the talking so that you can unearth what they really believe they're there for and what they're looking for. And like Andrew and I said, like there's sometimes they're going to say something where you're like, that's not it. And like, they're not going to be a good fit. And then I'm not going to try and force them into being a good fit. Right.
Yeah. And I have a couple of rules around hiring now, and we talked about this offline again, is like, it's very rare that a hire of convenience actually works out unless you're crystal clear and the universe just goes plop, here's the person you want. It's very rare that like, yeah, they'll do is not going to work out. Right? That's one rule. The other one is like, I'll have a preliminary interview with them, or my practice manager will have a preliminary interview with them. And if they seem up to scratch, the next step is that they come in and observe a shift, right? Because I don't want them to go for a job that they have a different image in their head, right? So like they have to get the role, as in understand it. Once they understand it, they still have to want the role. And then once they want the role, I decide whether or not they're actually capable of doing it, right? So, and part of that, this is my other rule now, is PDPs. I don't know if you use them in your hire. They are, they really tell you what you're looking at and where somebody's at. We had one in our last hiring process, and she fit more of a back office CA role, and she would have been a great back office CA. We were looking for a check-in CA, but also the PDP told me that she was like, her energy was drained.
Yeah.
About down to a level 1, right? Like she'd gone from a level 5 to a level 1, and in kinetic energy. And I was like, I just don't want any projects on my team right now. I want a team of,
Energized.
weapons. No, I don't want a project. I don't want to be nurturing somebody on my team. We're past all of that. We're a great employer. I want a team of weapons. And unfortunately, she wasn't the right fit for the role, because I was clear about it, and I, actually tested and checked and verified, not just what I was told in the interview, but from actual data. And a PDP is going to be the best data you can get, I think.
Yeah, no, it's been super helpful for us too. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what's a PDP? Well, that's another reason to join TRP and get to some of our immersions and get hooked up with us, because you can take PDP tests on your team and find out more about yourself first and foremost, and then recognize in your roles, there's actually kind of a formula, if you will, of what you're looking for in a check-in CA versus a checkout CA. And that helps you identify, do I actually have the right person in front of me when I'm positioning them, right?
Yeah, because so often, especially if somebody thinks they want a job, they'll say exactly what
Yeah.
it's not hard to get ChatGPT to write you a great resume and, give you the answers to the pre-interview questions and all that kind of stuff. But you can't get ChatGPT, I don't think, at least, to take a PDP for you. But
I wouldn't think so. Yeah.
no, I wouldn't think so
Good
either.
question.
It's a great test. But yeah, if you're listening thinking, oh my goodness, what on earth is a PDP? How do I know if I want to check in, check out CA? Then there's a great plug for TRP, because we have all of those systems in place. It's literally something as coaches we help our coaching clients deal with on a daily basis, because the headaches that, if you're listening, that you have around staff are not new to anyone. And we're there to help you navigate through those headaches. And if I can help my coaching clients avoid some of the headaches that I've had with staff and grow faster than we did, then I'm winning as a coach.
So true. So true. Yep. And you're going to do it with right people in right roles and right hires. So we're here to help you. That's for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, I feel like we can do a part 2 on this one, because there's so many discussions as it relates to being a team. But
there's a lot. There's a lot. Is that next week?
yeah, I think it might be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hiring part 2 coming next week.
That sounds great. Well, you have a great evening, and I'm going to have a great day. And I'll see you.
I hope the sun's shining in Wisconsin.
It's looking good.
All right. Go get a tan.
All right. See you, Andrew. Bye-bye.
I'll see you next week.
Hey everyone, please listen in for this next bonus interview of one of our remarkable success partners. They all help us help more people find the benefits of chiropractic. So listen on.
What's up, team? So here I am with the fantastic Sam from MediCloud. Excited to have this conversation. Every single time I have a chat with Sam, we just get down into it about all the nitty and gritties about building a successful chiropractic office. And Sam, without stealing your thunder, I know we've done a lot of work for you in multiple locations of ours. Why don't you take us a little bit through MediCloud, and what do you guys specialize in? Because I know that you have a few arms. How is it that you help support chiropractic offices? I won't steal your thunder. Why don't you take us through, what do you guys do? What do you bring to offices that makes everyone love you?
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for having me on the show. We started off as an X-ray business. That's our bread and butter. That's what we've always specialized in, and we still do to this day. But we've also noticed that there's a massive gap in the technology space. Technology is forever evolving. Going to show my age. I remember having a Nokia mobile phone, and now everyone's using iPhones. And technology's evolved in such a great way. Has come so far and has advanced so much. Now we've got AI tools and everything else. So the business has actually spread its wings, and we encompass the entire technology space. But our biggest point of difference to everyone else out there is we specialize, we live and breathe in the chiropractic space. So we understand your profession, we understand your industry, we understand your workflows, we understand your practice management software, whether you're using PracSuite, Clinico, Spinalogic, Atlas, to name a few. We get it all. And then what we really specialize in is how do we streamline how you utilize this technology, and how do we reduce downtime to your clinic, which then improves your clinic's efficiency, which then leads to better profits, and it increases staff morale, which in turn helps improve your patient morale as well. So we look at what we do as you're the chiropractic. You're a chiropractor for health. We're the chiropractor for your technology. A well-adjusted clinic is going to breathe and operate a lot better, and the IT is the nervous system of your business. So
I love that you talk about team morale, because I think everyone's fear is when the IT stops working or something kind of short circuits. So to make sure I got this right. So one part of what you guys specialize in is essentially becoming like the IT partner of a clinic. So like if someone has any technology issues, any IT issues, any computer issues, it's like, all right, they know, you guys are just one dial away and they've got someone on hand to help support and walk them through that at all times, right?
Yeah, internet, phones, printers, computers, wireless networks, the whole lot.
Nice, nice. I love it. That's such peace of mind knowing that. I always tell docs, right, like scale yourself out of the business. Stop being the go-to for everything, especially the go-to for IT. If your team is calling you and being like, hey, our software isn't working, or this isn't happening right, or emails aren't set up properly, or something's gone wrong, you haven't got your business set up the right way. In fact, it owns you rather than you owning it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, you can jump onto ChatGPT this day and age and ask AI for help on how to fix something. And truth be told, we utilize it as well, but on more complex things.
Mhm.
But the time you spend trying to figure it out and then getting all these step-by-step instructions from AI to go try this, it's an experiment.
Well,
And
that's the thing. It's time that we're talking about. And as
yeah,
someone who
exactly.
owns a business, you're looking for ROI in your time at all points, right? And so last thing I want to be doing is going through ChatGPT, working out of an IT issue, right? Which kind of leads me to my second question. Probably this is the really important one. As a business owner, they're always looking for ROI. How do I ROI? I love the IT side of things and knowing that I've got peace of mind and that I can operate at 100% capacity all the time. But tell me about like the other part of your business. So X-ray, because I know that a lot of chiropractors take advantage of like the ROI. I, for years, had an X-ray facility right next door to me. And so I thought, I don't need an X-ray machine. And then when we reviewed the numbers, little did I realize how many people were getting lost between day one and day two, even though there was a radiology clinic down the corridor to the left of my office, like 120 meters from my office. So talk to us a little bit about X-ray as well. And how do you guys monetize that for offices? What are you finding? What's best practices? How do people use you in their offices so they can deliver better experience and also, have another income stream too?
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things we come across quite often, and this is a really good recent example. We had a clinic who's got 3 radiology centers nearby. They didn't have their own X-ray machines. They keep referring patients out, especially new patients. And a couple of these new patients weren't returning back after they've been referred out. You're losing a patient there. But then what ended up happening is they needed to re-X-ray an existing patient, so they referred them out to the local radiology center, only for the patient to come back and say, hey, by the way, the radiologist's taking these X-rays. They don't like chiropractic. They don't believe in chiropractic. And they advised us against getting an X-ray and against us getting chiropractic treatment. Unfortunately, there's this very old stigma about chiropractic profession. It's still lingering around. And, we're a big advocate ourselves for chiropractic care. And this is one of the biggest challenges chiropractors face out there. You already cop enough flack from other professions, the media, and everything else every now and again. You don't need it to come from a local radiology center that you're trusting with your patients to go and get X-rays done. So it's all about the retention, right? So that side, you start retaining the customer because you're taking your own X-rays. Patients in the clinic with you, they're not leaving. You've got them in there. You can show them the evidence then and there on the spot. That's the biggest advantage. You can privately bill for those X-rays depending on your business model, and I'm sure you guys can help them out with that. And you've also got the ability to get onto Medicare and provide your patient that bulk billing capabilities while you're still being able to treat that patient. From a business perspective, I won't sell an X-ray machine into a clinic that's not averaging 7 to 10 X-rays per week. So
Yep.
7 to 10 patient X-rays per week.
Yep.
If you say to me you're doing 3 to 5, I'm like, you're not going to get a return on investment straight away. It'll take you 2, 3 years to get a return on investment. If you're doing 7 to 10 patients a week with an X-ray, you should have a return on investment within 12 months. And I'm sure you can vouch for that yourself with your clinic running an X-ray from us. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And look, just little things, right? Like I just zoom out and like to look at numbers and metrics. So here's some direct numbers from our practice. Ready? So I, for years, had an X-ray place next door, and I used to think I'm sending him next door, and they're bulk billing the whole thing for me, right? So like, does it really matter? And we reviewed our day 1 to day 2 show-up rates and found that they sat in that period at 77%. Now, get this. Once we purchased an X-ray machine off of you, we did the review just 6 months later, and we found day 1 to day 2 show-up rate sits at 92%. So you think
Wow.
about that, that's a 15% increase of day ones. Now, over the course of time, that's hundreds of day ones. And if you know your math and you go, well, the lifetime client value in my clinic is worth anywhere from, in your clinic, let's say, is worth anywhere from $3 to $5 to $6,000. You do the math on the hundreds of people, like we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, dare I say it, moving into seven figures of like lost potential, because you guys know it. People have an intention to do the x-ray, but when you add an extra step, that extra step just loses 7% of people. That's exactly what it is.
100%, 100%. And look, the other good thing about having your own X-ray machine is you have control of how those images look. You're focusing on the spine, and sometimes you refer the patient out to a radiology center, and the radiographer will do what they feel is needed and necessary, not what you need as a professional. So
Yep.
there's that respect factor of lack of respect from the person taking those x-rays. You might want to do a cervical extension and flexion shots. A radiology center might refuse to do that, or they'll do it incorrectly, or they'll get the patient to lay on the table and do their x-rays when you need that weight bearing on the images. So it gives you full control over the entire process. And I think it adds a lot of professional value to the patient. When a patient sees that you've got this whiz-bang x-ray machine in your clinic, they're like, oh shit, these guys know what they're doing. You know, these guys are professional. They're up the game.
I can tell you 100%, I can attest to the fact, and this is something probably, Sam, you don't see into because you're not in practice, right? Practicing, but that professionalism around when you finish your day one and you do your recommendations. So where you always send for special inflammatory technology that we've got there on site that measures inflammation markers around the body and spine. And then number two, digital x-rays. When we tell them, so we're going to jump to the room next door, and because the money model affords it, you don't obviously say that part, but you say, hey, we've got a radiographer here on site. He's going to get all x-rays done. His name is, whatever his name is, Sam. He's going to take great care of you, get those scans done. Let's get everything turned around. I'll get it back within an hour. Let's get you back in here as soon as possible. Like that, projects a certain level of professionalism. Wow, you got here on site, the room next door, absolutely, room right next door, right? Second part of that too is they see that we're working with urgency. They see they're like, dude, you're going to get this back in like an hour. So they also mirror and match you. Let's get you back in for your report. How about this afternoon? Okay, what about tomorrow morning? Like done. They also mirror and match that urgency compared to, look, there's an x-ray place down the road. Go down there when you get a chance, get the x-ray. Let's put your report in for 3 or 4 days' time, and use time kills all deals. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
Right? So it is. Cool, man. I love it. I know you've helped a ton of officers, and I only hear good reviews. So who's the best person to reach out to? If someone's listening to this, who is the kind of person that should reach out and get in contact with Sam?
Look, just ring us on our 1300 number, 1300 658 103. So I'll slow it down, 1300 658 103. You can get through to that line literally 24/7 and just raise your inquiry, and they'll put you in touch with me directly, or they'll step in and assist you with the initial process from floor plan design through to quoting. And you got any technical questions or business related questions on how to utilize x-rays and things like that, I'll obviously steer them back in Bobby's direction. But yeah, look, I'll be able to answer.
And I was going to add that as well. If anyone's got questions, right? If anyone wants to, talk to someone in clinic first, doing this successful across multiple business units, just reach out to me, guys. Most of you guys know how to find me. Reach out to me. I'll take you through, how do you make it into a great model and great business model, monetize it, great money model. So it's an absolute no-brainer. So you're literally 1 month after installation turning around going, why did I not do this years ago? Yeah,
exactly.
Nice one. All right, brother. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate all the great work you're doing. And guys, there you go, Sam from MediCloud. So make sure you get in contact. This is one contact that you won't regret. So make it happen.
Thank you. Thanks for the support, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.